I want to invite all our listeners to something we've been doing called the All About Pigeons Lounge. Every other Thursday, starting at 6 p.m. Utah time, we open up a casual Zoom hangout for pigeon people from all corners of the hobby: rollers, racing, fancy breeds, or even if you're just getting started with pigeons. People have been joining from all over the country and around the world. We just sit back, relax, and talk pigeons. It feels a lot like standing around someone's loft or talking birds at a pigeon show. There's a ton of information that gets shared between fanciers. People bring up ideas, techniques, and little things they've tried in their own lofts that you might have never thought of before. It gives you new things to consider and try with your own setup. One of the really cool parts is seeing different parts of the hobby connect. Roller flyers, racing flyers, and fancy breeders all sharing ideas and experiences together. The lounge opens at 6 p.m. and usually goes for a few hours. You can stop in whenever you want, hang out for as long as you'd like, and head out whenever you're ready. You can find the Zoom link and the details on the All About Pigeons podcast Facebook page or at pigeonpod.com. We'd love to see you there. Welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast, brought to you by the All About Pigeons nonprofit organization, which is dedicated to promoting education and promotion of the pigeon hobby. Every week, a listener requests to drive our conversations about all things pigeons. Join me, Phillip Fry, as we learn and share stories about these incredible birds and this ancient hobby. Today we have with us Mike Netzky, and we're going to learn all about pigeon racing in 4-H. So, Mike, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us.
You're welcome, and this is one of my favorite subjects.
Let's get a little bit of background on you and pigeons and how that all got started.
Okay, when I was about 9 or 10, I did a book report on homing pigeons. I was fascinated by them and asked my parents, can I get a pair? And of course they said no. But I always worked for everything I bought, so to speak. So I went to Siegel's on my bicycle. Siegel's was in an Elston in Chicago on my bicycle when I was about 9 or 10 and bought a water and bought a feeder, something like that. Anyhow, somehow I got a pair of pigeons. Okay. And I made a little loft. I had a little loft that I was making, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So I was about 9 or 10 years old and I flew them, but I didn't race or anything like that. I didn't know anything about that. And we had to move and I couldn't take my pigeons with me. So 65 years later, when I got up to Michigan without pigeons, since I hadn't had any for 65 years, I said, hey, I'd like to have pigeons again. And I checked to see where the closest, come on, Mike, the closest club was, and it was about 150 miles to the south. I'm way, way, way up in northern Michigan, near the Mackinac Bridge. Anyhow, so I said, well, if I can't join the club because it's too far away, what if I don't start? Why don't I start my own club? And who the heck would be better for me to beat but kids? So I went to the 4-H coordinator in Emmett County and said, uh, I'd like to start a racing pigeon club. She said, what's that? We've never had that before. I've never heard of that, which most people have never heard of racing pigeons. And I said, well, we're going to start it. And that's the story. And I'm sticking to it. We arranged for a meeting at the fairgrounds one evening. And we had probably about 10 or 15 people that showed up, kids and adults. And I explained to them what I wanted to do and what I thought the birds could do and stuff like that. And that was that. So we had a few people, a few families that signed up. That was the beginning.
Oh, that's interesting. So you went directly right to the 4-H, hit them with pigeon racing. Were they already doing like showmanship and conformation with pigeons and stuff?
No, they did nothing. They did nothing with pigeons. There were no pigeons there at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they were doing nothing at all with pigeons. And our club started the first now showing, flying, and many other things.
Okay. So now they are doing like the showmanship and conformation and all that as well now through there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Really
Okay.
excited about that.
Okay. Is that separate from what you're doing with the racing, or is that a part of what you're doing with the racing?
It's separate, but it's part of it. The kids, same families. It's just a different aspect of what they're doing.
Hmm.
They love the birds. They have their own birds, their own lofts. They do their own breeding, and but this is something they love their ribbons and the excitement that goes with this. Most of the kids now in our group are under 12. Some of them in other groups that we've had, they were older, 16, 17, etc. But you have to be out of 4-H when you're 18, I believe. But that doesn't shouldn't stop some of the people.
You're doing this through your own kind of club right now. Is it like a AU club also?
We do encourage the kids once they've joined our club, whether they want to be 4-H or not. We do encourage them to join AU for any number of reasons. AU has wonderful youth races that the kids can enter, but they have to be AU members, and they can enter they can be a member as a family, or they can be a member a single uh, junior.
Okay. Are you competing with any other race clubs in your area?
No, we're not. We have our own races among ourselves. Um, we sponsored for 3 years in a row. We sponsored a one loft race for kids from all over the country, where they would send us a bird, one bird per family, no, per kid, and we in September, I believe, we would have a race 200 miles away from Grand Rapids, Michigan, back to Petoskey. But there was just so much work for me that I couldn't do that anymore. So we gave that up. But still, it was fun. We had people from the community come watching the birds arrive and
Yeah,
potluck and all that kind of good stuff.
that's awesome. So that's a pretty good turnout. Would you say you had a dozen or so people show up on just your first announcement about even doing this?
Oh, it's more than a dozen, but yeah, because we had not only had the community, because we advertised it in because the local newspaper, they had newspapers at that time. Um, they they publicized it, so we got a lot of the public that had never even heard of pigeons, racing pigeons, and of course our own club, which we have right now we have over 50 participants.
That's a pretty good turnout. Is it pretty easy to get kids once they see the pigeons and once they hear about what they do? Are they pretty hooked on it at that point, or is there anything else that you're really trying to bring them in with?
When their family shows interest, and we have plenty of places that they can see the birds, etc., because we do Fourth of July parades, we do the county fairs, etc., etc., senior facilities, libraries. Anyhow, when they see the birds and they want more information, I'll invite them to come to see my birds. And usually I have around 60 to 75 birds just hanging around. So if there's babies, always they got to have the kids and the adults have to have the babies in their hand. They also have to hold the birds. Right now, that's really gets them started. While they're here, I explain to them about feeding, about the loft, about where to place their loft, about water, about any they're all simple things. But I think I got over expressed to the parents and the kids how simple this is and how inexpensive it is compared to horses and cows and stuff like that.
Right. I was gonna say, so I imagine that when you're telling the kids this and the parents in the background being like, oh man, I gotta build a loft, I gotta go buy all this feed and stuff. How do you get the parents on board with this? Because that's really where it comes down to.
How to get the parents on board. We have loaner lofts. Okay, that
Oh,
yeah, we have loaner lofts. So
nice.
we have a 3x3, for instance, that one of our kids found a skylight at the side of the road, and we turned that into a loft, a 3x3x3. We built 4x4 lofts. We have a number of loaner lofts that we have for the kids, or if they want to build their own, I'll be glad to help them. If they know how to do it themselves, I'll give them directions on how to do that. And the placement of the loft is very important. I will not never let them place the loft themselves. I always want it to face a certain direction. I want this, this, and this. And I'll go to their house and make sure it's all done.
Okay. And what is it with the placement? Is it something with the sun or where they're coming back from on the race?
I love to have the aviary facing south.
Okay, yep.
I love to have the aviary facing south. Oh, the most important thing is I want them to have the loft where they can see it.
All right.
I mean, it's like roses. All right, sometimes you have to put your roses in the shade in order to see it. But if you can't see them, then why have them? So, that's really what it is with pigeons. I want to make sure they can see them out of their bedroom windows or the breakfast table. So we managed to have the lofts, in a sense, the aviary facing south and in a location where they can see them.
Okay. Have you had a lot of kids really jump into it and build some pretty decent sized permanent lofts?
Yeah, we have a family of 9 kids. They took an old dairy barn and they made part of it the inside a loft, and the outside they put a big aviary.
Oh,
And in fact, I saw, yeah. So yeah, that those are our first family. Actually, they didn't make it to the first meeting, but they the family came to my living room and we talked about it a long time.
so some of the aspects of pigeon racing can get kind of technical, and you're dealing with younger kids. If we're talking about, you're trying to explain velocity or even just some of the feeding and breeding and stuff like that. So how do you break that down for the younger ones to not overwhelm them?
I find it's not complicated, but they can get so much out of it. When you're talking about calculations, you're talking about weather, you're talking about chemistry, you're talking about these, they can get so much educational value from that. Little by little, little by little. For instance, when they come to my house, I say, the reason this aviary is pointed this way is because of I want the sun, and they like to be out in the sun. The reason I feed them a certain amount is because I don't want to overfeed them. And I tell them, well, five minutes, what they can eat in 5 minutes, 10 at the most, is all you want to give them. You don't want to overfeed them. And they'll look, and some of the parents will say, but but they seem starving. These poor birds are starving. Well, that's okay. They're not starving. They're not starving. But so it's little by little. As far as the races, most of the time I or one of the parents take the birds down the road for training. We take all the birds. Then they fly back to their individual lofts. Seagulls, anyhow, arrange for us to get clocks. So we all have clocks, which makes it nice. And I don't know how to use it. No, well, the parents are pretty good with that. And the kids, some of the kids are pretty good with that too.
Okay, so are you guys using the new digital ones?
Yeah, yeah. When we started out, we used the wind-up clocks. That was a mistake, sort of, because in order to use a wind-up clock and register your birds, that's one major piece of time, another piece of time going, to the registration, coming back. They have to be home in order to clock in their birds, take the counter mark off. And these families have to balance their time. There's so much going on. And the clocks were, I mean, a really, really nice feature. And we have it where we can all see each other's coming in, and which is nice. And when they beat me, they go, ah.
Yeah, I think that's like what everybody likes about that is you can all see each other's stuff coming in now with those things.
Yeah, yeah.
How often are you guys getting together and having meetings?
We have our meetings once a month. Some of them are potlucks, some of them are not, but we have refreshments. Of course, no, no liquor at all. And the nice part about our meetings is that what I heard that years and years and years ago, what adult meetings were like. They were friendly, they weren't competitive. They were You joked, and our meetings are friendly, and even though there's some competition, it's not like that's it. It's not like a cutthroat thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of all the families and the kids, I believe, really do. everything together. They interact together. That's in a nice way.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a really good race club right there. I like that.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Right, yeah. So it sounds like you're really active, especially with, getting them set up, showing them how you do your loft. Are there other members of the race club that do you guys have some sort of like a mentorship program that you can kind of pair kids up with to kind of
Sure.
show them the
Well,
ropes a little bit?
first of all, the ropes are, believe it or not, the ropes are easy. I mean, the training takes a little bit more. And teach them how to train. We give them baskets so they can use the baskets. It's really not that complicated, I don't think. Sure, it's complicated if you want to win $1 million somewhere, maybe, but that's not us, okay? We want the birds to be healthy for sure. Yeah, be healthy.
So what are the other benefits for the members who are joining with the AU that are in the club?
Good question. The AU, as you probably know, has a convention once a year in various cities. Some of our kids have participated in that convention. One of them made a PowerPoint presentation and took it to the convention where she, a fourth grader, presented it at the banquet to about 70 adults. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. It goes on. There's other people that have. So the AU, back to the AU. So that was the convention. Oh, also something that's really important for our conventions, for the convention, is the youth race. The kids can send their birds, young birds, to somebody in that particular city or where the convention is, and he or she handles the birds and trains them. And then there's the youth race, which is somewhere between 150 and 200 miles every year. Two of our kids have won it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, 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 yeah. Won the Washington, D.C. race during COVID. Unfortunately, I mean, it wasn't the convention. They didn't have the convention, but they had the race. And 2 years ago, I guess it was 2 years ago, one of our kids won the Orlando race. Okay. And the AU, the next year, they sponsored the parents or parent and the kid to come to the convention and all that kind of good stuff. Unfortunately, it wasn't in Hawaii, but still.
Right. Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year, right?
That's the one you want to get to for sure. As far as keeping them engaged kind of throughout the racing season, you guys are still meeting monthly.
We try, yes.
Now you got the breeding season and stuff like that. Is it just through the meeting you guys are always staying in touch with each other and the meetings are kind of the glue that holds it all year?
And we use emails a lot. I send out at least 2 or 3 emails a week, and they come back and people talk about their birds or different things that are going on. Facebook, other people other than me know how to use it.
Has there ever been one story that really stands out from your experience with all these kids of one that really took to it or excelled with it?
Well, the fourth grader and her younger brother, actually her older brother won that Washington D.C. race that I was telling you about. But the younger brother and the fourth grader, the younger brother, second grade, they did a big presentation at their school where they had the whole school outside, and they explained all about the birds, stuff like that. Now we also have a traveling loft that we built it on a trailer. Okay. And it's like a regular loft with an aviary and steps where you can walk up to and all this kind of stuff. And the birds were there. We flew the birds for the kids. And we always take that to our events. And the kids' parents can hold the birds. At our 4th of July parade, that we go to a number of them. When we go, we take the traveling loft through the parade. Of course, we have many birds that the kids are throwing off the balcony of the traveling loft, and we have a bunch of kids and parents that walk behind or in front of the float, our float, so to speak, which is the traveling, and they're letting the parents, letting the thousands of people hold the birds, and once in a while they let them go. And you're not allowed to throw candy at the parade, okay, because but you can throw birds. So we throw birds.
Oh, that's great. And
It
what a
is
great way
great.
to promote right there. I mean, I'm sure you probably get the question of, oh no, are they gonna be okay? Right? I mean, do you have to explain to everybody that they're gonna come home?
The kids explain all that they'll all go back to their loft or other people's loft. Yeah, and they're there already in 5 minutes and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Every time I do whenever I do a release with my bird, it's always the same thing. And you gotta, it's okay. That I can never beat them home. I don't, they don't gotta stop for anything. They can just, they beeline. So yeah, that's a great way to just,
Even that 200-mile race from Grand Rapids, the birds don't stop at McDonald's or the rest stops. They keep flying. Now, something else. Oh yeah, yeah, very important.
Mhm.
Very, very important. At the fair and some of our other events that are like fairs, this is a whatever it is. This is a piece of paper that we include. Let's start again. You can send a message by pigeon to anyone in the country. Okay. First, it starts by U.S. mail. Now we put they take a the people at the fair, for instance, that are purchasing this for $2. It used to be $1, but price of postage went up so much. But anyhow, they can send a message to anywhere in the country. On one side of the form, the little form, they put their name, address of where it goes to. On the other side of the form, they put Grandma, we miss you, or Grandpa said hello to so and so, or happy birthday so and so. So, and then we put that in it. We put it around the pigeon's leg with a counter mark. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And twice a day we fly the pigeons, so they all go back to their home lofts, and then we take that message off the pigeon's leg and put it in an envelope with this letter that says, "It's our pleasure to forward the message to you. We're at the Emmett County Fair, et cetera, et cetera. And the first part of this journey, your message went by pigeon, and the second part by U.S. mail." Okay, and we
Oh,
can
that's
also
cool.
send this to like servicemen on their ships and stuff like that. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's been it's unforgettable. People come year after year after year after year with sending more and more and more of these things, and that's the way we make our money for our treasury. That's the only way.
That's a really smart way of doing it right there. I think anybody listening should be doing something like that. Yeah, that's what a great way to promote right there.
It's a win-win for everybody. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. I get letters all the time, cards from grandmas or grandpas or whatever saying, "Oh, it was such a pleasure to get this message and thank you," and et cetera, et cetera. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they still do the Hash Knife Pony Express out here in Arizona, so they'll still deliver, and it's only for a small little stretch, but you buy this special thing, and you have it delivered that way. But it's really cool to be like, oh, this letter traveled so much by a horse, so to be able to still say this message was carried by a pigeon, that's
that's right.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And then so you're doing this like you guys have a booth or something at a fairgrounds and
Bring the traveling loft to the fairgrounds. We're outside the small animal barn. We have a place every year after year after year there with our signs and tables and stuff like that. So we do that at that county fair. We've done it at other things similar to fairs.
can you describe what your traveling loft kind of looks like and how you made it and what it's made out of and stuff? We did an interview with Cusack and he has a mobile loft that he puts up at the fair and it gets thousands of people that stop by. It's a really big thing. And then other listeners have in the past reached out, same thing, wanted to build a loft. So I was like, you know what, you're talking about having a portable loft, so I'm going to ask you about it.
I don't know if you can pick up this.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see a picture of it there. Well, can you describe it for us a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. It's roughly 6 by 10. It has a large aviary on the outside that takes up like all that 6 by 10 area, and or most of it. It cuts off where there's stairs that go up, so the public can go in and look not at the birds, but look at what the inside looks like. We put the birds in the aviary that have the messages on their legs or whatever, and then we twice a day we release the birds from the aviary.
So even that's probably something to see too.
Oh, yeah, we have 50, 60 people that want to see it, and I caution them, beware the poop. I also tell them, nah, don't worry about that because they tuck their legs behind them. They're too particular. They don't poop on their own legs.
But I'm really hoping that as people who are listening to this kind of get a spark and do this as well.
It's easy.
This is so great for the racing hobby, for the pigeon hobby. You're bringing youth into it, you're getting them into it, and you found a way, with these loaner lofts. That's brilliant right there. You're making it easy because it really does come back down to making the parents comfortable because they're going to be the ones that you really have to convince. It's easy to convince a kid to get an animal, but getting the parents on board with it too.
We also give free birds to people that want to join,
Okay.
young birds, so they can train them.
Okay, you do the young birds. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So someone who wants to start a 4-H, pigeon racing program in the area, what was the first thing you would tell them to do?
Publicity.
Yeah, advertise.
Advertise in so many different ways that they can. Don't pay for it, of course, but unless you have big bucks. But advertise, let people know that there is such a thing, and you're there to help.
What are some of the different ways that you would recommend that are like what was effective for you with your methods of advertising to get it out there? So you said you put something in the newspaper.
When they had newspapers, they gave us front page color pictures often. Well, that was one thing. And then, of course, all our presentations that we have at libraries and the fair and senior facilities, et cetera, et cetera. Those really help as far as publicity.
What kind of mistakes do you think beginners could make and should try to avoid when tackling
Yeah,
a job like this?
the biggest mistake, and it was my mistake for not recognizing it also the biggest mistake was for some of the younger kids to have these birds as pets. Okay. Um, because if you do that and you lose a bird for hawks or whatever, it hurts some of the kids. All right.
Right.
So, and I do caution the kids when they come to the house that they can lose birds, et cetera, et cetera. Means normally it means nothing. They don't realize what losing a bird is when they've made a pet out of it, when they've named them all and stuff like that. So I don't try to not convince them to do that anymore. I explain to the parents and the kids, reality is you may lose a bird or two. We gave our last family, they had built themselves a nice loft, and we gave them 11 birds. Well, they now have 10. On the first flight, training flight, one did not come back. And that happened to be a favorite bird of the little girl.
Of course, it's the favorite
But
always. Yeah.
but that would be, fortunately, we can give healthy birds to the kids so they don't lose them that way.
Well, we're coming up against the clock here. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the racing community right now while you got their ear?
It's exciting. It's exciting to see the families work together, and it's exciting to see the kids working with their parents, everyone working together. And that's the families working together too. That's the most exciting thing for me.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thanks for everything that you're doing. That's amazing for the pigeon hobby, for the racing hobby, and everything else. And thanks for coming on the show and talking to us about it. Hopefully, other people listen to you and get inspired and pick up the ball and take off of themselves.
I hope so. I hope so because no one knows what it is anymore.
Right. Yeah. Let's change that.
You take care.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
I want to invite all our listeners to something we've been doing called the All About Pigeons Lounge. Every other Thursday, starting at 6 p.m. Utah time, we open up a casual Zoom hangout for pigeon people from all corners of the hobby rollers, racing, fancy breeds, or even if you're just getting started with pigeons. People have been joining from all over the country and around the world. We just sit back, relax, and talk pigeons. It feels a lot like standing around someone's loft or talking birds at a pigeon show. There's a ton of information that gets shared between fanciers. People bring up ideas, techniques, and little things they've tried in their own lofts that you might have never thought of before. It gives you new things to consider and try with your own setup. One of the really cool parts is seeing different parts of the hobby connect. Roller flyers, racing flyers, and fancy breeders all sharing ideas and experiences together. The lounge opens at 6 p.m. and usually goes for a few hours. You can stop in whenever you want, hang out for as long as you'd like, and head out whenever you're ready. You can find the Zoom link and the details on the All About Pigeons podcast Facebook page or at pigeonpod.com. We'd love to see you there. Thank you for listening to another ad-free, listener-requested episode of the All About Pigeons podcast. If you like the show and want to help it keep it going, as well as supporting your other pigeon promotional work, head to the website PigeonPod, that's pigeonpod.com. You can make a donation there. If you can't make a donation today, support the show by giving us a good 5-star review wherever you're listening to us at right now. That really helps the podcast and helps the algorithm get us out there to other people who might not know about Pigeon Podcast. If you have any episode requests, upcoming pigeon shows, competition results, or you want to be a guest on the show and just talk about some pigeons, or you have a shout out for a friend, shoot us an email at staff@pigeonpod.com. Thanks again for listening. We really appreciate your support. And remember, together the hobby thrives. Support each other and enjoy your pigeons.